What's up everybody? I'm back with another ranking video with the tierlists.com website. This time I'll be covering the Sega Genesis. And yeah, I know a lot of people don't give a rat's ass about this console. That is so sad because it has some really kick-ass RPGs. It's their loss, I guess. But if you're watching this video, that means you care enough about this console as much as I do. So as usual, I'll be covering only Japanese role-playing games released on the Sega Genesis outside of Japan. That means games like Shadowrun or other games that are Western RPGs or from another country or whatever are not gonna be in this list. Just Japanese games released outside of Japan. There are 21 games that I consider to be role-playing games. So let's just do this. Just a quick overview in case you're new to these videos. S means the game is a masterpiece, one of my personal favorites. A means the game is excellent. B means the game is really good. C means the game is good. D is mediocre. And E is total garbage. Okay, so let's begin then. Okay, first on the list we got here Exile. This is an action RPG. It's sort of like a platformer side-scroller game, and when it comes to the role-playing elements, you go into towns, buy stuff, talk to people, and the view is now a top-down view perspective. But when you're into dungeons, it's an action RPG in 2D. It's a good game, very good as a matter of fact, but it's brutally hard, kind of hard to get into, but once you get into, it's a lot of fun. Exile goes straight to the B tier for me. Phantasy Star 2, no need to talk about it, it's a freaking grindfest, it's very good. Another one that's going into the B tier. Obviously, it's infamous because it's one of those games you cannot beat without a guide. Alright, next is Landstalker, another game that it's not that hidden gem anymore, it's kind of popular. Isometric view, platformer, great game, totally enjoyable, very fun to play with some platforming elements that are totally screwed up, but you know, nothing you cannot overcome. Light Crusader. Light Crusader is another isometric action RPG full of puzzles and cool boss battles. You know, I like this game. It was one of the last Sega Genesis RPGs to be released. Well, it became a little infamous too because it was kind of cryptic in some areas. But nonetheless, I remember having a lot of fun with this game. It's a very short adventure. You can beat this game in like 2 hours if you know what you're doing. And some of the boss battles can be pretty fun. That's just my opinion. Light Crusader, Hidden Gem, another one that goes into the B tier. Wow, only B tier so far, huh? Let's go to Shining Force, no need to talk about it. This is the first A tier on the list. Great strategy RPG, historically important, great game. Shining Force 2, the same, and it's a fantastic game. These two games are must play on the Sega Genesis, among the absolute best in the system. Sorcerer's Kingdom. What can I say about this game? What can I say about a game that I can't even explain? Like, it's really hard to explain, it's a convoluted mess. It is a hidden gem because once you miraculously manage to get into it, it's kind of fun, but it takes a while, it's hard to understand, hard to get into. It's kind of turn-based with some strategy elements involved. It's a mixture. It was one of the early experiments on when it comes to role-playing games. Trust me, it's not a bad game, but it's just has a lot of problems. I'm gonna put this on the C tier. Sword of Vermilion is one of the worst RPGs in the system in my opinion. It's not total trash, but Jesus. It's hard for me to say something good about this game, but I understand it was influential, it was critically acclaimed when it came out, but nowadays it's just extremely outdated and not fun to play. It's not total trash, but it's mediocre / bad nonetheless. Tracia is one of the worst RPGs on the system. I don't want to waste your time by talking about this piece of shit. Kadash. Kadash is a little bit like Exile, but Exile is fast-paced action. Kadash, you take your time, you move around in 2D, side-scrolling, action RPG 2. If you know what you're doing, it's also a very short game. You can beat this game in like an hour and a half, usually 2 hours if it's the first time playing the game. It's very good, very, very fun to play. However, it's kind of archaic, it's kind of, I don't want to say outdated. You can still have a lot of fun with this game nowadays, but it's just one of those games that, I don't know man, it just doesn't feel that fun to play I played this game recently and I was like, I didn't get very far because it's also brutally difficult like most retro RPGs, especially action RPGs on the early 90s. I'm gonna put this on C tier, but honestly it's a good game. Give it a chance if you can. Phantasy Star 3, the black sheep of the family, it's still good, don't take me wrong, it is still a very good game. Pales in comparison to Phantasy Star 2 and 4, but whatever, it's still a good game in my opinion. Phantasy Star 3 goes to, I'm gonna put it a B. You know, I don't care, I like this game, it's just slow-paced, turn-based RPG. Warsong is a fantastic game. You guys know I'm a huge fan of the Land Greaser games. Warsong is Land Greaser 1, the first one, and the only one we ever got before the remakes or the one in the 3DS. This is Crusader of Senti, the infamous action RPG, very similar to the Zelda games, but with more RPG elements, strong RPG elements. Crusader of Senti is one of those games that, well, unlike Zelda, it's a little bit hard to get into, but it's fun, it's good, it's a great game, and also, unfortunately, you guys better emulate this game because it's one of the most expensive, rarest RPGs in the system. I mean, this game, just the cart, it goes for over $100, $150, complete in box is a $300 game. This is the holy grail of JRPGs on the Sega Genesis. But is it worth it? Well, it is a very fun game. Let's put it on the B tier as well. Fatal Labyrinth is one of the worst roguelike RPGs, one of the first roguelike RPGs ever created, but it's bad in my opinion. It's not total trash because it was influential, but either way, it's just, I don't enjoy playing this game. Super Highlight is a piece of shit, it's one of the worst RPGs on the Sega Genesis 2, don't bother with this game, it's complete and utter bullshit. Shining in the Darkness. Shining in the Darkness is the very first Shining game before the Shining Force games, and it's a dungeon crawler in first person, turn-based RPG. Now don't take me wrong, it's a good game. You gotta play this game for what it truly is, like one of the very early turn-based RPGs, dungeon crawlers in first person. And I didn't like this game one bit, I think it's extremely mediocre. But you know, it is the beginning of the Shining series, so I'm gonna give it a break and put it on the D tier. Next up is Uncharted Waters 1 and 2. This is New Horizons. Let's rank this one first. Also released on the NES, this support, an enhanced port, but you know, it's just the first Uncharted Waters is more of a simulation than anything else. It's boring. Well, I understand that once you get into it, it can be a little bit of an addiction, but it's just not for me, man. The first Uncharted Waters, I couldn't get into it, it was boring as hell. It's another mediocre game. The sequel, however, Uncharted Waters New Horizons, also available on the Super Nintendo, is a great game, very fun to play, several different characters to choose from, several stories, replay value, great battle system. This game is very fun, unlike its mediocre predecessor. Uncharted Waters New Horizons goes to the B tier. Phantasy Star 4 is a masterpiece, goes straight to S. It is my absolute favorite game in the Sega Genesis. Unforgettable, fantastic RPG. The best in the system. East 3. Well, talked about this game a million times, there's no need to talk about it. Fast-paced action RPG, you know the drill, it is very fun. This is one of the better versions. I still think the TurboGrafx version is better, or the remake on the PSP called the Odin Felgana. But you can't go wrong with the Genesis version. The worst is the PC versions or the Super Nintendo versions, which are still pretty good, I guess, but the Sega Genesis version plays a little bit better, so I'm gonna put this game on the B tier. This is where it belongs. And Beyond Oasis, that's the last one I have to cover. Another action RPG, but this one is top-down. Very good game, very fun to play. However, it keeps the role-playing elements to a minimum. Sometimes you feel like they're barely there, but they are. It is an action RPG through and through, and it's just a beat 'em up. You know, it works more like a beat 'em up with some magic elements involved. Beyond Oasis is a very good game, totally recommended, and a hidden gem on the Sega Genesis. So that's it. This is it. This is the end. This is my ranking list. Only one S tier for me. I know maybe Shining Force 1 and 2 could be on the S tier too, but they have a few problems here and there. However, they're fantastic games, just like Warsong, another strategy RPG, very influential and very historically important. And also, I know I may be missing a couple of games, like Arcus Odyssey for example, but that's a Gauntlet clone. There's like almost zero RPG elements there. I don't consider that as a role-playing game, it's just an arcade action game through and through. And if I missed another one that you think should be on this list, let me know in the comment section below. That's it, people. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!